Okay, so I just did an update over here for Infotainment to the April 2022 update for the car, and I've been AWOL for a while. I was on a cruise boat last week, so I didn't have time to do anything really, and I got back on the wagon this week, trying to resort my sleep schedule out after getting rocked around the boat for a week. But yeah, I still have things in the pipeline, obviously, but work and life has kind of taken over just how much focus I have on this. But at least I can keep making these sort of shorter one-off videos just directly on the phone. So we just went ahead and installed the update over here. Used my trusty, where is it? 120 gigabyte is my Corsair Voyager GTX, I think, has a really fast drive. So the update is about 32 50. It's a 52 gig update, and I think the update itself is only 32 gigs. So be prepared for that. It will take a while. I have the blessing of having a 100 megabyte down network from Comcast, and that took me maybe 40 minutes to go and pull the whole thing down from the internet. And then obviously you just copy it onto this thing, take this, plug this into the USB port over there, and what happens is you'll get an option. It'll pop up and it'll ask you, how do you want to do the update? There is a install now, and there is a what's it called again, background update option. From reading around online, you want to do the update now. The background update will try to copy it onto itself, and it'll just figure out when it wants to update that. And some people have had some less than positive experiences with that process. So do the update now. Basically, the way that works is that the infotainment is going to shut down, and obviously you're not going to be able to use the CarPlay port because that's the one that wants the USB. So the infotainment is going to shut down. It's going to do its thing. It'll take about 45-50 minutes max, I think, to do it. Usually it's supposed to take like around 25. It took me about maybe 35 to 40 to fully complete the update out. And what I ended up doing is, you obviously want the car to be on while it's doing that update. What I did was I just drove the car, honestly. It doesn't shut down screen one. Your dash is perfectly functional. All of your end modes still work as you would normally expect them to, and you can drive the car as normal. You just won't have your infotainment, you won't have music, you won't have CarPlay or your nav on that. But if you have like a phone mount, you can stick your phone over here. You can use that for nav, obviously, to do whatever backroad driving you want to do. So that's just basically what I did. I just took the car out for a spin, and so the car would be on the entire time while this was doing its thing. And obviously it's not just sitting here idle with a battery discharging. So that's kind of what I ended up doing. So I'll talk about the update a little bit after it came online. This like restarted like 3 to 4 or 5 times during the cruise, but no adverse effects to the main dash. So the car behaved as you would expect. Obviously, I mean, have your end mode set up prior to doing anything, because you're not going to have access to end mode because the entire second dash is going to be shut down. But at least your custom settings, you can't change anything here. So just make sure that's set up the way you want it to, and this will respect everything. Like end mode behaved perfectly as I expected during that drive. But kind of just what changed. So they didn't add more circuits, which is kind of disappointing. There we go. They didn't add more circuits, which is kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. I guess they're maybe still working on that, hopefully. If they have Pacific Raceways, that'd be fantastic. They don't have that in the area, unfortunately. One thing that's kind of neat is if you have any of your items move down over here, like brake pressure and throttle, you get a little bar that like moves around, which is, I guess, kind of interesting. It just takes up sort of the dead space over here on the left, because this used to just have nothing. So that's kind of neat. I haven't seen any other real changes to the end mode. Like, it's already pretty well dialed in, so I'm not too concerned about that. Haven't checked if automatic creep stayed. No, that doesn't remember, because I turned the car off, brought it back on, that stayed off, so that's kind of annoying. There is a little animation now whenever you turn things on and off, which is kind of cool, I guess. For active sound design, they did actually add a new option here. I haven't heard this yet, but this is Rally, if you wanted to screw around with that. And there used to just be obviously Sport, High Performance, TCR, and Custom. Now every one of them has the little custom dial next to them. For your custom settings, it's no longer the pentagon, like if you were familiar with like the Veloster, like how you used to be able to select things. It's no longer like that. You just have sliders now, which is an interesting design choice. What does I do? Okay, that's new. It's interesting. So that's what I did over there. The biggest change that people probably have been talking about on the forums or Facebook or Reddit or whatever is that the radio. they got rid of the analog tubes, which I don't use the radio, but I'm kind of sad they did that, because that was kind of nice little charm they had, that the car kind of had, but they got rid of that, so it's now just, you just have your normal sort of jog, basically, for these. I haven't really even used the radio, so I'm not even sure, like, how this actually works, to be completely honest, because I'm usually just CarPlay anyways, but there is that. What else changed? So we go to setup, go to vehicle over here. This is a new menu for like auto driver assistance. If you click anything, it just goes into normal when it's before. I don't think anything changed over here, really. One thing that did change, which I thought was kind of interesting, is if you go to, I always get kind of lost in these button. They added more options here. So I don't recall whether we could do this in the past. Maybe we could, but you can assign just custom to, not N custom to, which I just realized is something I could do now. Maybe I could do it in the past. That's kind of neat. So if you have, my right N button is just custom 1 and N. So N is obviously full N over here, and then they're custom 1. Custom 1's one where I have the like exhaust a little bit louder and everything's dialed up a little bit, not quite full N. And then N custom 2 is sort of my cruise, have fun sort of mode, but the exhaust is set to normal. And if you click this again, it just goes to whatever was the setting that you had prior to this. So that's kind of neat. So what I can kind of do now is I can start the car in normal. If I want to cruise around without being super loud, I can just go to that. And if I want full N mode, I can do this. And if I want N mode but not as aggressive, I can do that. And then I can just play with that, basically. So I used to activate normal mode by reaching down and touching this, and now I can just double tap this and go back to normal if I want to, that's kind of useful. Obviously it uses whatever drive mode you were at, so if I left this at eco, custom 1, that would bring me back to eco. So that's kind of a neat thing I realized I can do. We have these now, so you can actually change what these do, which is kind of nice for changing your radio. For, do you want it to affect the station, the preset station, or do you want to affect frequency, which is kind of cool. You can actually change what the volume knob does now. You can have it do volume power, or you can zoom it in and out of the map. I don't use the inbuilt nav, so no idea how well that works, but that's kind of neat that they added that. The mode used to be able to swap between, I think, a bunch of things, and then you had one, the breakout, about which audio source did you want to use. This just is a selector for the audio source. It doesn't actually bring up the phone projection, which is kind of annoying. So there is that. When I have CarPlay active, it doesn't actually switch to CarPlay. It just will unmute the CarPlay, or will, if I'm on radio, switch it to CarPlay. So it's not doing exactly what I wanted to, but I've heard from some people that I'm just not setting up correctly. But if I could have something on the wheel, like bring up the CarPlay menu, they're really cool. But yeah, I don't think anything else really changed. I'll kind of update if I find anything else, but yeah, I just figured I'd make a video just having done the update.